Okay, welcome to episode 22, my friends, of Corpse Pride of Blood Drive. So, we beat chapter 6 last episode. What we found out was everybody except Ayumi just kind of died. I mean, Mizuto's still good, and we're assuming that everybody else that we've seen so far is dead. Except I'm still not sure where Yuka is, or what's happened to Yuka, because she was kidnapped by Mizuto. So I'm thinking, maybe she's still alive. Determination is the name of the chapter. I'm hoping Yuka's still alive, because I want more people alive in this game than just Ayumi. It's the end of the world as we know it. Oh. The sounds of fire trucks and patrol cars echoed through the streets. The sky was dark, the air stale, and the many strong, cold gusts of wind bore mass amounts of dust and debris. I didn't envy the reporter her job, and she seemed mere moments from being blown off of her feet. But to her credit, she persevered. Behind her, there was a black shadow of an old man. I'm here reporting on what's been dubbed the nationwide ghost disaster state, which local representatives claim is now in effect as of last night. The stirring of unexplained and potentially unexplainable deaths that's been plaguing the cities presently shows no signs of letting up. Holy shit. Suspicious and sudden demises, homicide with unknown motives, and reports of paranormal visitations are all increasing at an alarming rate. The police forces in each prefecture are still weighing their options for dealing with this issue, and few have made any official announcements thus far. Frustrating. The old man's shadow in the background began acting strangely, jumping in place and making various other aimless motions. The Metropolitan Police, meanwhile, have suggested that all locals travel to a safe location in groups of 3 or more as soon as possible, remaining indoors until further notice. The camera's getting really out of focus. The sudden devastating appearance of the black pillars throughout Japan last night has also led the MLIT, or the MLIT, I'm going to call them, to declare a state of emergency, setting up disaster shelters and lookouts. Official word from local bureaus on how these pillars are architecturally traffic. I'm going to reread this up. Official word from local bureaus on how these pillars are affecting traffic, the status of damage to the rivers, as well as any countermeasures being taken, can be seen here. Why am I screwing up that sentence? Looks darker now. Experts have analyzed the pillars' compensation and concluded that they're made of a previously unknown material. They've tossed around names like spirit matter and entity wall. Due to their rapid growth and the complete inability of even seismographs to predict where they may spawn, the number of casualties is quite high, and global tensions are even higher. Everything up to and including industrial cutters and blades has been employed to attempt to cut through these objects, but with absolutely no effect. The Ministry of Defense is using JSDF data to explore the strong possibility that these pillars are related in some way to the aerial sphere that hovered in our skies only days ago. Well, that would make a lot of sense. I have here a list of newly appointed relief shelters, so if you live in one of the designated evacuation areas, please take note of the information on your screen. The information is also available on our website and through our mobile app, but do note that any gymnasiums and schools shown in white are full, so you'll need to look somewhere else. We strongly recommend that you proceed to the nearest open facility as soon as possible. Can you... Whoa! But if these things can spread up anywhere without warning and give you no time to escape, evacuation is meaningless. There's not a damn thing anybody can do to stay safe. He sounds a little cranky. Whether you die or not, it's just dumb luck. What the hell are the police going to do to get off their asses and make a statement? Are they scared of public outcry? Are they hiding something? The middle-aged announcer was yelling at the top of his lungs, and in an absolute frenzy, he kicked his studio desk to the ground. A black shadow of a woman could be seen behind him. Oh no, we see shadows. Oh no. Oh, Yumi's actually home. Class rep. Shinsaki. Ayumi. Shinsaki. Huh? She can hear them all talking. Why are they all in my house? Those are the 4 that were dead to begin with. Why are they in my house? Thank you for bringing us back to life. Well, that didn't happen. You mean I did it? Something's false here. Oh. Shit. But a whole lot more people have died now. Huh? The room grew dark, and each of the 4 figures who stood before me slowly melted into the blackness, becoming an indistinct silhouettes. Even Moshida, Nakashima, and Kishinuma have died. So many people gone. What's this? Even we haven't actually been revived, huh? Well, this is just a bunch of hooey. What was it you were trying to do again, Ayumi? And now she's gonna freak out a little bit, isn't she? I screamed and looked up. It was just a dream. I was at home watching TV. Well, damn. I scrunched myself up again, putting my face to my knees. Bring them back, bring them back. I was like a broken record with that, but it was doomed idea from the start. Everything I've done has been pointless. So what do I do now? I thought I could revive them. I really did. I mean, if I can't come back from Yoshi's house... Well, if I come back from Yoshi's house, despite those injuries and losing my sister, then anybody should be able to come back. I raised my face from my knees, eyes red and burning. The fuck? Then, as if I hadn't already had enough tragedy in my life, I heard a loud crash just outside my house. It was unmistakably a car wreck, and a rather severe one at that. The car's alarm was going off, but I was trying my best to ignore it. I didn't need this right now, so I simply wasn't going to bother with it. Sis, what do I do, sis? The hell, sis? Maybe sis is home. Maybe her head got reattached. Maybe. Up next, we've learned that the CEO of PL Promotions Co. Inc. is among those who've gone missing. Well, we know that. She's dead. Whoa. I'm actually in her house. I can do stuff. She just looks cranky now. The car alarm outside was still going off, and it was getting harder and harder to ignore it by the second. Somebody obviously wants your attention. What? News? Whoever was ringing my doorbell was really, really persistent. The irregular sound brought me back to reality. I crept over to the peephole and silently looked through it to see who'd be visiting me at this hour. On the other side of the door stood a man I didn't recognize. He had short hair. He was pressing the chime frantically, as if his life depended on it. Who is that? I was kind of creeped out. I really shouldn't open the door. You really should open the door. I moved away from the peephole. He's not gonna stop. Open the fucking door, please. Open it, please. The persistent ringing continued for a bit, but then finally, thankfully, came to an abrupt halt. I slowly crept back to the peephole and took another look. The man was still there. He was just pacing back and forth in place in front of a house that, for all he knew, had no occupants. After another short while, he approached the door again and immediately put his eye right to the outside of the peephole. If I move now, he'd totally know I'm here. The man moved his head away, but quickly replaced it with his finger, which he swirled around and around inside the tight space as if trying to reach my eye and poke it out. Then he stepped away from the door. I could have taken this opportunity to slowly move away from the peephole, but I was oddly transfixed. Thank God, now all he has to do is leave. Of course, the second I thought that, he came back to the door yet again. And yet again, he skipped the doorbell and went straight for the peephole. What does he want? Why isn't he saying anything? This is really creeping me out. Well, fine then. I'll just open the door and give him a piece of my mind. I grabbed the doorknob and was moments away from following through with that plan when suddenly... Ayumi? Sachiko? Don't open it. What? He's dead. Sachiko? I slowly turned to look at her. The Nirvana is the end of the dead, and that world is coming here. Then, there was an oddly familiar sound. Another car accident. Again, right outside my door. This time I looked outside at the people and saw the man from earlier, sandwiched between a car and the wall of one of the houses across the street. He was absolutely mangled. But after only a few moments, the man's corpse disappeared, leaving nothing but a shadow at its place, and the wall and ground alike, a black stain. Yeah, things are getting really fucked up, aren't they? What is this? What's happening to the world? Not that I even really had to ask. Is this from breaking down the walls of the Nirvana? I wasn't just asking myself. I was asking Sachiko, whose presence still remained just behind my back. Well, Sachiko looked sad. But she just looked at me, up at me with really sad eyes. That person just now was one of the deceased. And if he was turned into a black stain, then what? No, it couldn't be. I pulled my smartphone from my pocket and forced myself to remain calm enough to access the photo, but then just dropped and stared. God, no. Are all their faces black now? I'm guessing that's so. Yeah, the photo displayed on my phone, which was now on the floor. Yeah, I thought so. No longer had just my friends from before with blacked out faces, but Mashoida, Nakashima, and Kishinuma as well. I pounded the floor with both my hands and shuddered violently. Well, thou shalt repent. I'm guessing that's how it was supposed to be said, because that was an awful good reaction. Like, oh! I like it. The end of the world is nigh. God shall not forgive those who aren't unclean and indiscreet. Some cultist group was speaking on TV. I guess the news must have ended at some point when I wasn't paying attention. The end of the world, huh? This time, I was just plain talking to myself. You are alive! But how are you here? That's right, the end. Who would ever thought the last remaining Yagora could have enough suicide bomber determination to dream of something like this? Nagiti appeared in my hallway. I had no idea how long she'd been there, nor how she'd gotten in. I noticed she still had her heels on, though. It's you. You gonna be nice to me? I stood up, and Sachiko was, as always, waiting in the wings behind me. I came back with the ever after stones, used them in midair while I was falling down the bell tower. However, well, Heavenly Host is totally destroyed, though. See, these are just plain ordinary stones now. To demonstrate, Megari snapped the two together. Nirvana, I summon the dead. See? I probably flinched, but she was right, nothing happened. Within the next few hours, the world will be totally blanketed in chaos. It's going to be the new land of the dead. Sucks, huh? This is seriously the cataclysm. And on top of it all, and on top it all off, that's my order on TV there. Fucking shameless, aren't they? Even I've got to draw the line at that point. She pulled back her chin and flashed me a strained smile. Oh yeah, your parents went crazy and joined, so you know. Really, this day couldn't have been much worse for me. Are you okay leaving things like this then? Magari wasn't mincing words, it seemed. Don't you just start fucking whimpering again. Be strong! I held my head in both my hands and looked down at the ground. If you feel responsible, come with me for a bit. I have something to discuss with you about your bloodline. Magari approached me and grabbed my arm. Whoa. Sachiko, still right behind me, began to growl like a guard dog. Get your hands off me! I can't even save my friends! I can't do anything. I don't know what the hell the difference the blood of the Shinozaki is supposed to make, but I'm just a Ayumi, and Ayumi's worthless. Besides, the person who first introduced the Nirvana to this world was Yoshi, not me. I screamed as loudly and as fiercely as I could. I didn't do anything wrong. I closed my eyes and cried the hardest I've ever cried, sobbing so intensely that I found myself nearly hyperventilating. Jesus. Whoa! You do not bitch slap my character. It's just rude. Like, seriously. My god, he slapped me down to the ground. You're one stubborn bitch, you know that? Got a hell of an ego, too. For once in your life, just suck it up. Kind of have to agree with her here. I held my cheek and continued sobbing. My god, he was looking down on me with contempt in her eyes, but also a certain intensity that seemed more akin to desperation than anything. Ayumi Shinozaki, here's one fact you should know. Once the 7th pillar, the Sephiroth of knowledge, starts up, it's all over. The end of the world is carved in stone. However, my god, he closed in on me as if our lips were about to touch. Yeah, this is like a really, really close scene. Sachiko growled again, but Magari was clearly not intimidated in the slightest. The Book of Shadows isn't gone yet. What? You came in contact with the original book, so since you draw the blood of the Shinozaki, you may be able to fight Mizuto. I was still hesitating, and Magari apparently didn't much like it. God, just come the fuck on. Suddenly Magari was pulling on up the top of my uniform. My plum white stomach was now fully exposed. That piece of shit book is right here. She pointed to a spot just below my belly button. What? As she did, my stomach started glowing with an unearthly roar and shifted in place slightly. It was almost like there was a snake slithering around inside of me. Sure would be nice if you'd noticed that a little sooner. That thing's been sleeping inside you since you first used its power in the basement of Yoshi Shinozaki's estate. My god, he crossed her arms and snorted. Of course, it's only a container. Nothing's in it right now. Is that the book? Growling like a cocky bastard. The growl that came from within my body sounded like that of a wild beast. There's no way. Is this for real? I was actually tricked pretty good. Originally, the elders sent me to support you in your efforts to obtain the Book of Shadows from that other realm, among other things. Okay. But, of course, that still means I was planning on stealing it from you as soon as you got it on your hands. Now, though, that doesn't matter. If the world's going to pot, there's not really any meaning in becoming the heir to the Metrobus anymore, is there? And that just fucking sucks. Huh? It's almost... Oh, it all goes back to Mizuto. Mizuto. If that little fucker thinks he won the war, he's got another thing coming. Don't you just want to slaughter him like a pig right now? You should stop being such a pussy and look at all the things you're capable of. There'll be time enough to abandon all your potential after you're dead. That was harsh. My eyes began to well up yet again. Are you saying there's still something I can do? Magari's expression turned deathly serious. Do whatever you can to bring that Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. If the book recognizes your determination, it should extract itself naturally. And if you have the power of the book at your disposal, it'll lead the way right back to Mizuto's nirvana. But that place is supposed to be destroyed. I could only stare incredulously at my abdomen. Magari took this opportunity to open my front door, again to illustrate her point. Outside, the weather was still completely anomalous, or whatever, with hurricane-like winds and debris clouds everywhere. The clouds up above, too, were moving abnormally fast through and disconcerting blood-red sky. Every few seconds, a sound not unlike a spark plug firing could be heard echoing from the distance as another black flame ignited and burned itself out in some random spot. So people could get randomly set on fire. That's fun. I mean, you're going to lie down and die with this world. Either way. So what have you got to lose? Show me how tough you are. Well, you still got the chance. Just remember, the book was born for black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. With those parting words, Magari disappeared into the city, the sounds of her heels clacking softer and softer until they were no longer audible at all. Sachiko and I could do nothing but see her off. Guess Sachiko's a good guy now. That just makes no fucking sense, but it's what's happening. The entire nation was now plagued with entity walls and black silhouette-like spirits of the dead. Why was the woman one so quiet, but the male one so loud? The entity walls were rapidly destroying schools, downtown bypasses, and other crucial traffic cornerstones, and even rescue shelters, creating countless new casualties by the minute. People were running in the streets, panicked and confused, and almost certainly not much longer for this earth. Where are we supposed to go? It doesn't matter. Just run or you'll be crushed. What about overseas? How you gonna get there with the sky and the ocean both screwed up? Just run. Meanwhile, in Miss Kun's office, the black-suited agents watched in horror as each TV monitor displayed a feed from a different news network across the world, and the story was exactly the same on all of them. Boss, what are we supposed to do? There's nothing you can do. If you can find Miss Kun, it'd be nice, but she's fucking dead. Okay, how is the book supposed to recognize my determination? What the hell am I supposed to do? I'm guessing we have to murder somebody, because the book likes violence and blood. Well, we're gonna go upstairs. We're gonna go in my bed. There's no reason we're gonna go upstairs. We're not gonna go in my bedroom. What's this room? Is this my bedroom? Where is her bedroom? We never really explored the house. Whoa! He knew room. He knew my sissy sis. My sissy's room. Yeah. Okay, we need a save for chapter 7. There are numerous books on the shelf during the magic of the cult. Noi had quite the collection. I'm guessing we need this knife. This has probably something to do with it, correct? Sis, give me strength. What are you doing? In front of the mirror, dresser set Hinoi's zodiac dagger. I gripped it in terror, closed my eyes, and started shaking. Well, do whatever you can to bring that Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. Just remember, the book was born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. So you have to... Whoa! I couldn't back down now. I lifted the dagger in front of me, poised to plunge into my body, and carved myself open as samurai once did in the ritualistic suicide called seppuku. But I couldn't go through with it. I was just too scared of death. Too scared of the pain. I can't! The face that reflected back at me in the mirror was twisted with fear. I didn't even recognize myself. But I could see in those eyes all the weight that had been put on my shoulders, all the responsibility I'd been forced to bear. I'm a coward. Oh, Kenworth, screw off. I'm small and weak. The world doesn't need me. I won't be missed. But I came to make a difference. Here and now. My mind was made up. I lifted the dagger again, only to bring it halfway to its destination before halting its descent once more. No matter how determined I was, no matter how strong my conviction, this was literal suicide. I knew what had to be done, but knowing and accepting are two different things. I began crying like a baby. This was the most afraid I've ever been in my entire life, and almost certainly the most afraid I ever would be. At this point, the only way I'd be able to go through with it was to clear my mind and let my arms make the motions automatically. And before I knew it, that's exactly what I did. Holy shit, she stabbed herself! I don't think I was supposed to do that. Oh shit! It's most likely because I wasn't thinking about it, or anything else, for that matter, that the dagger found absolutely no resistance. It was like applying excess force to a slice of cake. For a brief moment, I felt nothing, but then the convulsions started, first in my abdomen, then quickly spreading up the rest of my body. I don't know if we were supposed to do that. That was just kind of awful. My abdomen was now spasming and constricting involuntarily, and the rest of me wasn't faring much better. My entire body was in total chaos. Jesus! The extent of the agony I'd felt at that moment was absolutely impossible to convey. It was all-encompassing. I was utterly incapable of focusing on anything else. My lower body was spewing bright red blood, thick black blood, and an unknown yellow substance, all of which were blending together into a slurry that was, at its core, my life essence. I think this is the only thing we could have done, though. Maybe the Book of Shadows will patch us right up. This went far beyond anything I could have ever imagined. The sheer shock of it rendered my mind a jumble that I simply could not untangle. I knew there was a reason I'd done it to myself, something I absolutely had to do, and it was crucial, but regaining enough cognitive function to do it would be a challenge. I can't do this. To cut across yet and remove the book, there's no way. My head was swimming as I tried, beyond all reasonable measure, to hang on to the consciousness just long enough to complete the task at hand. I could still see my face in the mirror, but only just as the blood that had been spurting from my abdomen had largely glazed it over. It was a truly frightful sight compared to, if not more disturbing than anything I'd seen in Heavenly Host. I can't do it. I felt feeble, helpless, and the face in the mirror was smiling at me for it, darkly, obscenely. You can't do it. Did the book just fucking talk to me? I think the book just fucking talked to me. Jet black crows flew by outside the window, and in that moment, a fire sparked within me. Feeling oddly resolute, I gripped the dagger jutting out from my abdomen. Are you gonna drag it across your... Yeah. Okay. And yanked it to the side with every bit of strength I had left in me. You know, you could have went out a little easier. The spray of blood gushing out of me became almost exponentially more violent. Most surprisingly, it seemed like equal amounts of blood were rushing to my brain as well, and the effect was a feeling like the blood vessels in my head were on the verge of bursting. The book! Holy shit! It worked! But just as I felt like I was moments from my final blackout, I saw something. There, among my own entrails on the ground, was a blood-drenched tome. This... it was the Book of Shadows, without question. But we're dead, right? My vision blurred from the intense loss of blood and even more intense pain. I fell forward, unable to maintain any semblance of balance any longer, and I landed right on it, with a loud, warm, and unpleasant splash, my face planted firmly into the book, which was streaming under the odd temperature differentials of my viscera. I need a dwank. Oh, we're okay. Blood's gone. That makes sense. I awoke with a start. I was still in Hinoi's room. Instinctively and frantically, I looked down at my abdomen. There, I saw a scar resembling the ones I'd almost died from during the blackout at Yoshi Shinozaki's house. Runic lettering and all. But that was it. The bleeding had stopped. In fact, there was no blood anywhere in the room, and on the floor in front of me sat the Book of Shadows. Not a copy, but the original. This is... I slowly touched it, and from behind me, Sachiko spoke. The book has acknowledged you as its owner. She was staring at me with a docile, almost reverent look in her eyes. I picked up the book and looked at it, fear and awe running through my now clear head. Why are you gurring at everything? It grumbled a bit, darting its eyes back and forth. Eventually, it seemed to settle on a specific direction, locking its gaze. It seemed to be looking out the window. Why is it looking out the window? Does it see something? What is that? Most likely the entrance to the Nirvana. What? Kazaki Academy is in that direction. Oh my god, please. No, we gotta go all the way back to school? Ugh! Dad, Mom, thank goodness. I was worried sick about... The world has ended. The world's ended. Dad? Mom? I don't think we should touch them. But I'm gonna go to Mama first because the world has ended. Dad and Mom just repeat the same line over and over again, like a broken tape recorder. Sorry, Dad, Mom. Well, you guys are useless now. Yep. Can we go upstairs now? Oh, there's no reason for me to go upstairs. Frozen! Yeah! I'll be back for you. I swear! So we're gonna go back to the Nirvana. We're gonna go back to Heavenly Host, which is destroyed. We're gonna try to find our dead friends and maybe take their bodies back. Whoa, what is this? So how'd you see the game hit us with opening number 2? Why we got opening number 2, I don't know. I kinda liked it. Sachiko, I can't believe I'm saying this, but having you on my side is kind of reassuring. Sachiko looked at me with sweet, innocent eyes. Well, I like that opening a lot. The music was more intense. And we're back at school. Whoa! When I arrived at Kitazaki the Academy, I got a much better look at the phenomenon. It was like a whirlpool with a red, dully shining hole in its center. What's this? Was this the entrance to the ever after? Beyond that is the Nirvana. Or it is the Nirvana. Kinetic magic? Like how witches fly? No way. I think it's way. I closed my eyes, clasped the Book of Shadows tightly in both hands, and prayed. Book of Shadows, lend me strength. We're flying! When I opened my eyes again and looked up into the sky, my body began to float. I was in control of the Book of Shadows. I was a legitimate practitioner of magic now. This moment felt almost like an awakening to endless new possibilities. I'm actually flying? Wow! That is kind of sweet. And right next to me, flying by my side, was Sachiko. Ayumi? Huh? Oh. The momentary loss of focus dropped me out of my trance, and I immediately began falling. Jesus. I gripped the book even tighter and concentrated harder than before, and sure enough, I began rising up toward the vortex once more. Be careful, Ayumi. It's the book that's allowing you to use these powers. You mustn't let go of it. Understood. That still should mean we should be able to fly. I'm guessing it only allows us to fly to that hell. As I flew higher, I could see Megiddo sitting on the roof of the school. Looks like you managed to gain control over the Book of Shadows after all. I underestimated you, Ayumi Shinozaki. You even installed an escalator from Kizagi Academy right up to the Nirvana. Not too shabby. There is one more thing you should probably know, though. The Nirvana's encroachment upon and direct connection to this world isn't really your fault at all. The very moment that Heavenly Host Nirvana first appeared in this world. No, even farther back, at the moment when the Book of Shadows was first created, the coming of this apocalypse was basically inevitable. I looked into Megiddo's face. She was being completely sincere. She's the good guy, but she's a bitch. Good to know. The former owners of that book, including Yoshi Shinozaki, all tried desperately to stop it, or at least slow it down. And when they learned they couldn't, they left that fate to the next generation instead. That's why the book continued to be handed down through the ages. I see. What that means is, this all would have happened anyway, with or without you. Save for one thing, your actions resulted in the power of the Nirvana being handed over to Mizuto, the surviving member of that fucked up Yagorua cult, whatever. And you do need to take responsibility for that. Responsibility? You have the real Book of Shadows. But all the power of the Nirvana, broken up and distributed throughout Heavenly Host, have been absorbed by Mizuto's fake book. If you can get it back and seal it in that one, though you can easily outclass him, and if you can go one step further, taking in Nirvana's core, then that book will be complete. Now is the time to strike. Go on in and fuck him up. Before the world ends, let him see what real power tastes like. I'll be watching. Can't you go help? Please? Megiddo grew smaller as I climbed higher and higher, and as I looked up, I could see the threshold looming even larger, poised as if to wrap itself around me. Ayumi? Are you scared? Are you scared of dying? I don't know. Am I? I smiled at her, and to my surprise, it was a genuine smile somehow or another. I was feeling very calm. Sachiko looked at me with wide eyes. What's wrong? She turned away briefly, then looked over at me once more. It almost seemed like in that brief moment she changed expressions to much a way that you would change a suit. Ayumi, what you should be scared of is Sachi, and the person in Nirvana's core. Don't let your guard down. The person in the Nirvana's core isn't Mizuto? Uh-huh. There's someone else. Jesus Christ. I looked back up to find myself practically right on top of the hole in the sky that stood in front of the abnormally huge red moon. We gonna go back, we gonna go back, we gonna go back to that hellhole, we gonna go back. And with my convictions settled, I jumped in. The harsh flash, the nausea, and the wrenching tightness in my chest caused me to lose consciousness for a second, but then I awoke to find that heaven and earth had switched places. It looked as though I were falling headfirst into a massive storm, with flashing lightning and roaring thunder. It almost seemed like I was previewing what the world would look like after its destruction. In the sky, there was an enormous face of a doll, and the walls around me were all made of flesh. Sounds like Heavenly Host. Just a little bit. Good to know, good to know. Heavenly Host was a really fucked up school, guys. Oh, shit, the place is destroyed. I clenched the Book of Shadows with both hands as I slowly made my landing in this new version of the Nirvana. It was a mountain of rubble. 'Cause it all broke. What is this? Everything's broken to bits. Ah, okay. What the hell? Ayumi, are you okay? Yeah, I can handle this much at least. I slowly, carefully found my footing and pulled myself back up to my feet. This was an entirely different Heavenly Host. It bore almost no resemblance whatsoever to any version of the school we traversed previously. Heavenly Host Elementary turned into this? Where are the others? Makoto, Nakashima, Kishinuma, Miskun, Aiko. I called out their names, but received no answer. All I could hear was the rumbling and twisting of the air around me. Your friends are dead. Maybe that's one of them. A name tag for the corpse. Kisahiro High, Class 32, Kazuki Minakata. Crushed by a piece of the school. Well, shit. Friend? Your friend. Oh, you're all friends! Oh, shit! Good to know I found them all dead. There was no mistaking it. In the midst of the wreckage pieces of clothing from Kishinuma, Makoto, Nakashima, Miskun, and Aiko were clearly visible. I mean, you can't bring her back, she has no head, but the other four might be good to go. And the unfortunate souls who were bearing this clothing were all buried under fallen beams and other debris, and surrounded by the vertebrae sea of blood. Don't freak out, you knew they were dead. I mean, I don't like seeing them dead, but I knelt down and began sobbing uncontrollably. You guys. Mizuto, show yourself. What you've done is unforgivable! Sachiko stared at me as I continued to scream and cry. Yumi? She's smiling. What is it, Sachiko? I'll see what I can do. I can try to restore Heavenly Host Elementary's destiny. At least some small part of it. What? Sachiko produced a calavera necklace from her pocket. What? The skeletal figure on the chain made a slight hollow clinking sound as it was handled, very much as actual bone would. It looked homemade and seemed oddly warm, like a keepsake. What is that? I had this weird feeling that I'd seen this object somewhere before. I swear that looks familiar. But from where? Though she was looking down at the ground a bit, slightly guilty and silently guarded, Sachiko giggled slightly. This is my treasure. A big smile crept across her lips, and for a moment she looked every bit the part of an ordinary little girl. I was confused. Sachiko placed her hand on the Book of Shadows. Fact loop. And the book spoke. Repeat the same day. Followed by Sachiko. We're going... Wait. Everything just fucking reverse? Suddenly, I was in Yoshi Shinozaki's clinic. The very small, same clinic Nakashima and I had visited on that fateful day. This person is Yoshi. I was viewing Sachiko's memory of an event from long ago. Yoshi was writing something in her journal. I've analyzed the anagrams to determine the spell writings, blah 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 blah, probably tested, we read this. There are no success rates. So why was I naive enough to attempt something so foolish? I devoted everything I had, my blood, body, soul, blah blah blah. And now the spell's failed and Nirvana has escaped the book. I've created a whole other dimension. Worst of all the deceased become trapped in that dimension or erased from existence in our world. Okay, we went through this. Sachiko came into the room from the back. Her eyes met with Yoshi's, and she smiled. However, since I was able to surpass the stray Nirvana, Sachiko stood obedient by her mother, wearing the white dress we'd seen on her in Heavenly Host. Yoshi patted her on the head approvingly. Okay. Sachiko then coughed out a fine black mist, but sucked it back into her mouth like a carp. I could at least rescue one person's existence from that shadowy, forgotten fate. The face of the image was blacked out, but like those of Seiko and the others. However, he's back? To my surprise, the black marking was slowly peeling itself away, revealing the features underneath. That makes no sense. You can't do that. So are their faces coming back? I mean, they'll still be dead. But are their faces coming back? My vision slowly cleared, and when it did, amidst all the rumbling and shaking, I found myself back in Heavenly Hills Elementary. Whoa! Sweet. Oh? Oh! Sachiko! You doing okay? Sachiko! Without thinking, I picked her up and held her limp, light body in my arms. She's disintegrating. She must have used up her spirit energy, as she was clearly drained. She was breathing, but only very lightly. Please tell me Sachiko didn't just die on us. Poor girl seems to be in pain. Wait, am I actually holding Sachiko? Sachiko was real. She had to have been, or I wouldn't have been able to hold onto her like this. She seemed injured, but not in any traditional manner. There were cracks running through her body, each one of them emanating an unearthly blue, almost gaseous light. Meanwhile, the school itself was also crackling and breaking all around me, making an incredible noise, the roof above began to crumble away, providing glimpses of the real world. And incredibly, the entity walls hadn't spawned there yet. We're back! This is before everyone died! Sachiko, hang in there! Ayumi, I'm sorry. I couldn't revert more time. No, Sachiko, thank you. That was amazing. You did great. I could hardly believe it. I'd just complimented Sachiko, of all people, on a job well done. You're praising me? Her newly formed physical body was rapidly beginning to evaporate in the mist. My voice was trembling, though I suspect it was less with fear and more with confusion. Yes, that was incredible. You're a good girl, Sachiko. She looked up into the sky, eyes beginning to well with tears. She was struggling to speak. Soon, she wouldn't be able to at all. I wanted to apologize. What? She barely had any voice left, but she was persevering nonetheless. This was clearly something she didn't want to leave unsaid, no matter what. I know you can never forgive me, but I wanted to apologize anyway. And with that, she began full-on crying. Sachiko, I couldn't help doing the same. I killed a lot of people. I'm not a good girl. You shouldn't praise someone like me. The tears were streaming down her face now. My face now. Sachiko's voice was so mournful, so genuine. But you saved a lot of people now, too. So thank you. A massive earthquake shook the ground. Sachiko looked scared, so I patted her on the head and hugged her tightly. She then looked me squarely in the eye, gripping her calavera necklace tightly in her hand as if it was her rosary. It's strange, isn't it? What is? Once you know you did right, passing on isn't so scary anymore. Sachiko? She's passing on. So Sachiko's actually finally dead. Sachiko and the blue light alike both disappeared completely. She was gone. The being I was hugging just moments ago no longer existed. All I could do was clench my fist and more. The look on Sachiko's face when she asked if I was scared of dying kept flashing through my head. Sachiko, you were the one who was scared, weren't you? I kept my head hung low for a moment, then stood up and wiped the tears from my eyes. So we gotta go see our friends. Accompanying the sound of rumbling on one single entity wall now stood in the real world. The cycle was beginning anew. Watch over me, Sachiko. One Sachiko to another. Well, one Shinozaki to another. We gotta go! Woo! Save the people! Oh, Sachi's here, though. Praise. Good girl. Unfair, Sachiko. Sachi's still here. Sachi is evil. Sachi wants to kill everybody. That's the end of chapter 7. I guess that was a short chapter. That was a really short chapter. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the episodes. Please comment, subscribe, tell me what y'all thought of the episode. And yeah, that was actually a really interesting chapter. I hope to see you all in the next episode. Take care till then. Bye-bye.